Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Shining the Light On, episode 8.
Wow, 8 episodes in.
And whew, we're going to have a really nice chat today about healing in the nervous system. Probably tied into that, we're going to be talking about like how to manage the collective energy and maybe navigating being an empath, because there's a lot of fun energy floating around in the world right now. And especially if you're an empath, and especially if you're maybe, seeing things going on in the world and going, oh my gosh, like you're connecting the dots and seeing things happening and it's frustrating you. And you're like, how, why, what can I do? So I'm excited to dive into that today, because I feel like there's so much going on in the world. There's a lot going on in my province. I know there's a lot going on where you're at. And sometimes it's just a lot for the nervous system. And as much as you try to stay grounded and as much as you try to stay detached and like in your power, it still hits on your heartstrings and it still has an impact.
Yeah, and I feel like it triggers us not only in the emotional and sympathetic and compassionate areas, but also triggers our ego a crap ton, because our egos like to be in control. Mm-hmm. And when we're going through these experiences that are well outside the realm of our control and we're not on board with it, like for example, Amber, in Alberta, why don't you tell people what's going on?
Yeah, so we have our provincial election. Here we have provinces, the US has states, at the end of May. And I've noticed this pattern, like May is usually not a very hot month. Like we can get nice weather, but we can still get snow. And it's like as soon as May hit, like literally May 1st, because we're moving my hubby into a shop, and so we were outside a lot. And there was just so many chemtrails, like so much spraying. Like I counted 50 chemtrails in one day, and I'm like, and then it got really hot that week. So I noticed a pattern where they spray and then it gets really hot. Okay. Yeah. And then once it cools off, they're not spraying. When it rains, they're not spraying. It's specifically to make it really hot. And then all of a sudden these fires start sparking up, and we're finding out that there's arsonists starting these fires. There's people being paid to start these fires, right? There's this whole agenda behind it. And then it's funny because when I saw the chemtrails on May 1st, I just heard election. And then it's like, oh, we have our election coming the end of May. Here's all this, right? And then it calmed down for a couple of days. And then this weekend, it was like full-fledged heavy spraying, hot weather again, all of these fires sparking up again, right? And towns having to be evacuated. And it's like, okay, right? Like there seems to be quite the connection here, right? Between the weather and the spraying and the fires. And if you pay attention to it, you can see the patterns. And we're like the Florida of Canada, and our federal government is not a fan of Alberta. So there's very much a tie-in between the one person who's running for I don't even know what it's called, the premier of the province, and
so like the governor
for totally the governor for the states. So it's like you see all of this, and it's so frustrating and angry because it's so close to home. It's impacting areas close to where I have friends and family and where I grew up. And the smoke has been so bad, like you can barely see down the street the last couple of days, right? And so it's just because May usually starts off cooler and rainier. And I know some people say, well, climate change, and that's fine if you believe that, but I see it completely differently. And this is being orchestrated.
Well, and I'd like to add to it that there is a pattern. Yes, so we'll get back to how it connects to the ego, but the pattern that I can see is that the exact same thing happened in my state of Washington in 2020. Yeah. They caught arsonists starting fires. We had a heat spell suddenly, and we had all these dry areas, and there was people catching people on camera. We caught people in the middle of the freeway lighting the brush on fire, like standing in the middle of the freeway. We saw a video of that. We saw people's ring, those ring cameras that people have at their front doors. We're catching people like lighting fires next to their house, like with matches in a box, and like trying to start a bush on fire and then like just walk away like they had nothing to do with it. I mean, this is a pattern that's happening. We saw it in California in 2018 when they were putting different towns on fire, and interestingly enough, it just happened to be along the path where they wanted to put a light rail train, right? So there's literally burning down people's houses. So that, and then, now they're going to buy that land. The people weren't allowed to move back into their house or restore their house. They were sort of kicked out, and the land was sold to the train company so that they could build the light rail train. And it also happened in, I think, I can't remember when Australia had those huge fires. If it was 2020 or 2021, what year that was.
Yeah.
I know they had a few, and it was all around the perimeter of Australia, which is also where they wanted to put these light rail trains.
Yeah.
And again, burning down people's houses, kicking them out. They couldn't go back. So it's fair to say that this is more than climate change.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I've gotten through, and in fact, I have a video on my channel at Blythe Starlight about doing a reading on climate change. And it's not what they say it is. It's part of an agenda. And how do you know? Well, you look at the people who are talking about it, right? We got the Bill Gates talking about it. We got the World Economic Forum talking about it. We've got
Puppet Greta, who's faking her arrests.
Right? Yes, we've got our staged people talking about it, and they're all on these same talking points.
Yeah.
And it's how you can kind of put two and two together and go, wait a minute, the universe is an amazing place. The earth is an amazing place, but I really doubt it's highly specifically targeting, these very specific areas and very specific towns to create fires. It just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah. And you're right, just on the point of people have been catching people starting fires, farmers, local citizens. They've arrested a bunch of arsonists. So this is not climate change. This is very much been being planned.
So now we go back to the ego, and our ego is flipping out for a few reasons. Yes. One, you're effing with my air, like just being able to breathe freely will trip. I feel like that would definitely trigger ego issues because I can't control or stop that.
No.
Also, the anger that would be sparked by, why would anyone do that? Why would anyone willingly make life hell for other people? And that's one of those questions that we ask ourselves on a spiritual level all the time, because on one hand, I always talk about oneness and how we are all one. So it's when people take those actions, it's kind of baffling, and it kind of can test your faith that there is any such thing as oneness, unless you can take your ego out of it and step way out and look at the 40,000 foot view.
Yeah.
Why is this happening? So that's an interesting thing. So when our ego gets triggered, Amber, what does that do to our nervous system?
Yeah. So essentially, when the ego gets triggered, we've given our power away to this part of us that is the more angry, frustrated, fearful, worried, sad, critical, judgmental. And as soon as that happens, we go into fight or flight response, and our amygdala in the brain, which is responsible for producing the fight or flight response, floods our bodies with cortisol and adrenaline, right? So you have a massive adrenaline spike, and you go into that stress response, and it amplifies these emotions. Your body goes into the stress response thinking there's a threat. And in some ways, these feel like threats because they're threatening people's communities, lives, homes, etc. But it's the fear, it's the worry, like, oh my gosh, what else are they going to do? Like, is it going to get worse? Like, right. Because it's when you're a good human being and you're an empath and you just care about humanity, your heart goes, I feel it's hard to not get emotionally involved when you just care. Right. But cortisol surge.
And most of us, when you say, based on the work that you've done, when you say most of us already are carrying high loads of cortisol?
Yes, already? Because people are overbooked and people pleasing and perfectionists and spending way too much time on social media and watching the news and emotional eating and binging and have gut issues and all the toxins and chemicals, like so many, overstimulated with caffeine. Like there's so many things that surge cortisol anyway. So then we have that, and then you put this on top of it, and it just amplifies things even more.
And my feeling about it, if we do take that broader view, is we're in a rampage. Okay, so we're in a rampage not only of events connected to what I love to refer to as the movie, which is, what's playing in the outside world. That movie we're all a part of. We all get to be actors in the big movie. So that's ramping, and it's going to increase because we're in the exposure phase of this. We're in that part where it's like you get to see all the players now, and you get to see how things are operating and how it's really not in the public's interest that the paradigm really got flipped. Right. So they really did create that pyramid that they love to create, that power structure, they created that. And it really should be inverted. Like that's one of those where it should be the people at the top and government at the bottom. Right. So that movie is ramping up, but also on a different level is the ascension energy that we've been talking about the last few episodes, where this is also ramping up. And that's not necessarily an easy ride either, because it's having a biological effect on all of us, right? We're changing on a cellular level. Our DNA is restoring itself to the 12 to 13 strands. I mean, eventually we get there. I don't think we're going to pop all of those out at once, but it's happening, and they're turning on slowly. But that also means stress on the body, for sure. And not so much in the spirit, but stress on the body. And we've talked about that and how that can look like ascension symptoms, because it's like, just like what's happening with the movie, you have to remove what no longer serves the body in order to receive the upgrades. So it's a combination of it's not a destruction, but it's a dismantling along with a building happening.
Totally.
And so you've got these two layers happening at the same time. They're happening in parallel, and they continue to increase. So that means our nervous system isn't really getting the break. Everybody keeps asking me, can I have a break? Like, when do we get a break? That's one of the questions I get asked from clients all the time, is when do I get a break? And sadly, all I've been able to say is we don't really get one. We get to evolve, and we get to stabilize and sort of hold a higher level of energy, and maybe hold that for a moment before we keep going up this mountain, right?
It's true.
So, and it's kind of like that just in life in general. If you take out all these other things and you just think about life, the older you get, the more responsibility you have. The more responsibility you have, the more you might feel that in your system. Like it's like when you become a parent, as an example, you don't get to go back to being single. You don't get to go back to only worrying about yourself. You've taken on more, and it will be that way for, indefinitely, that you can see. So it's like that with this energy. It's like, you've taken on more, and you don't get to go back. And so part of it is learning to accept that. And this period of time, like on an energetic level and on a cosmic level, the messages that come through are let go, it's okay, let go. You're not going back. Let go, and we're all like, but I want to relax, or I want to feel better. And so our intention with this episode is to talk about what you can do now, while you accept the fact that it keeps ramping and going up, that you still can find relief and peace. And we're going to talk about different ways that we can do that, because we have to accept that the intensity we're at now is sort of the volume that we're at, and it's going to stay here.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you for just breaking that down more and sharing it, because I was thinking it's not just that, it's the ascension, it's the upgrades, it's that as well, right? Plus living your daily life and tending to the responsibilities and commitments and caring for yourself and others as well. So it's no small feat. So let's celebrate all of you, because you're all warriors.
Oh God, yeah.
For being here and for like going through, right? We really are.
They say we're the strongest of the strong. I truly feel that deeply. It's deeply resonant. Every single human being, no matter what part they're playing here, was hand selected to be here at this time, because you had the right fortitude to do this. And we have support. We have spiritual support 24/7, but we're the on the ground team for a bigger force of energy. And that makes us kind of like the equivalent of Navy SEALs, really. Like that's how tough you are.
I agree. Totally. It's true. And if this can be the reminder to help you and that you're not alone, we all have our days and the emotions, right? Like it can be a lot some days. So
yes.
Why don't should we start talking about some ways we can support our nervous system?
Yes, definitely.
Do you want
I'm going to let you go first because this is your wheelhouse and I want to add to.
Okay, sounds good. So there's a lot of things I can share, from different things you can take to different practices you can get into. So let's just start with some really simple, easy things that when we're not doing them, it does stress the nervous system out. So number one, hydration. You always see me drinking my water, and today you can see the color, but I've got electrolytes in it today, because when our nervous systems are ramped up, we burn through our minerals more quickly, and we need these vital minerals in the body for so many functions, including supporting our nervous system. So I add electrolytes. You'd always drop a pinch of pink or gray sea salt in as well, but very rich in minerals. So adding it to your water, your food, taking a beautiful self-care bath where you add Epsom salts or pink or gray sea salt, your favorite essential oils, very grounding, right? So minerals are one of my favorites. Another favorite is tea. So chamomile, holy basil, or passion flower teas are so good for supporting that Zen regulation of the nervous system and calming you, relaxing you. So if you're finding there's a lot that you're ramped up with, you can always do something like that. Or if you want something in a bit more of a concentration, you could get these in a tincture form. Like I have a passion flower drop tincture. And if I haven't slept well, or like the last couple of weeks are so busy moving hubby into a shop, my mom's celebration of life, I've just been putting my 4 or 5 drops of passion flower into my water as well, right? So these are things you can get at your local health food stores, or, wherever you want to get them, but those would be like really easy to ingest. And then, believe it or not, a couple of key food things. So fats are like the insulation of your nervous system. So you think of a live wire where the coating is gone. This is what happens when the nervous system gets really overwhelmed. So eating healthy fats is very grounding and regulating, and it's almost like it re-adds that protective coating to the nervous system. So avocados, raw nuts and seeds. I don't recommend roasted because then it destroys the anti-inflammatory properties of the oil. So avocados, raw nuts and seeds, fatty fishes, egg yolks, right? Plant oils in their, delicate form. Don't heat them, don't cook them, especially if they're already in dark bottles, because it will destroy them. But these healthy fats regulate our nervous system, our blood sugar, and ground us. So those are some easy, things you can eat and stuff like that. And then self-care practices that I really love. So, and you play around with things and you pick your favorites and you leave the rest, right? So if I'm really angry and I feel so frustrated that I don't have control, like about the smoke or the fires or whatever, or I'm in a lot of fear, I will do sacred rage, which is I put on a timer for 5 minutes. I'll probably play some relaxing music, but I scream into my pillow and I think about bringing all the rage, all the fear, whatever it is, and I scream it out. And of course, when you're screaming into the pillow, you can actually barely hear it because it's muffling the sound. But 5 minutes will clear so much out of your system. And then after that, I spend a couple of minutes like breathing or meditating, or, just something to like settle it in. And I swear to you, like an hour goes by and I can feel this release. And by the end of the day, like I feel it all be released. So that's one of my favorites, especially if those are the kinds of emotions you're feeling. My second favorite is shaking. So you just stand, or if you can't stand and you're sitting, right, you could just shake your hands, but to stand and just shake your body for again about 5 minutes, because this is literally telling the nervous system I'm safe, and you can release and shake out some of these frustration, irritation, annoying, like whatever it is that you're feeling. And it actually stimulates your lymphatic system too, because you're shaking your body. Yeah. So that's a win. If you haven't pooped today, go do a little shaking and it'll clean you right up. Right. So I love that because we get a bit of movement, and some people like to dance. And then I love breath. And there's so many ways to breathe, meditation, and EFT tapping. And I teach EFT tapping in my membership, which all the details for that are below, but emotional freedom techniques. So you tap on different acupressure points and it helps to tell the part of your brain that's producing the cortisol that you're safe and it doesn't need to be in fight or flight anymore. And then you start with saying negative things, that you're angry, frustrated, whatever it is. And then you take a deep breath and then you go into positive, like I'm calm, I trust myself, like, but it's such a powerful way to take your power back, and it's great for regulating the nervous system. So those are some of my favorites, and nature's always great.
Yeah. One of the things, well, there's so many good ones. I love all of those. What I would add are, you can consider what are electron givers and electron stealers. This is an interesting point. So electron givers are things that actually give you electrons. So examples of that are grounding, barefoot on the ground, 5-10 minutes at least, really can give, you'll receive a charge, and that'll increase your energy, but also calm you and ground you. You can also lean up against a tree. Leaning up against a tree is an electron giver. They will share their electrons with you. Another one of my favorites is holding an animal. Animals will actually share electrons with you as well. That's why people feel calm and relaxed when they're holding an animal. It's not just the emotional part. There's actually an exchange of energy. And usually what happens is when the animal's done, they'll go and ground themselves again. They'll want to go outside and receive more electrons. Running water gives you electrons. And then we want to try and minimize the things that take electrons unless you're using it in a specific way. So standing water will actually take electrons, but that's why baths are so soothing, because sometimes when we're nervous or we have high adrenaline, we probably have an overload of electron energy, and a bath will help pull that away. Another interesting thing is wind. I didn't know this, but the wind is an electron stealer. Someone had pointed out that's why when you're like in a convertible, it feels so good, to have the wind blowing through your hair. But when you get where you're going, you feel really tired after being in the wind. If you notice, that's because it's taking electrons.
I hate the wind. Oof, my body does not like it.
I like it to a degree. I definitely like it when it's at your back, and not blowing in your face.
Yeah.
So those are a few ways to like increase energy and ground at the same time. Another method for dealing with an overactive nervous system, and I use this a lot for myself, and especially when my kids are going into meltdown mode, is we put our legs up the wall. So you lay on the floor, put your butt up against the wall as close as you can get it, and put your legs up, and do that for about 10 minutes. And what that'll do is it'll naturally activate your parasympathetic nervous system. So even though your thoughts might not be changing, your body is going to regulate you, because the heartbeat will slow down, because more blood's returning to the heart. And so it doesn't have to pump as hard. And when the heart slows down, the breath slows down, and it tells the mind, we're not in danger. Like if we can slow down, we're not in danger. And so it's a way to sort of trigger your mind to stop when you can't get out of the thoughts of fear. So let's say I was in your situation, Amber, and the smoke was really bad that day, and it's triggering the crap out of me. And no matter how I try to calm myself, I find myself going back to anger and irritation and frustration, because I have to keep dealing with it. Right. So then I would probably do legs up the wall, because I know that right now my thoughts are not going to help me. I need to override them. And I find that's a really easy way to do it. It's like the lowest maintenance way I've found to do that.
I love that. I love the legs against the wall, which, side note bonus, it's also great for stimulating your lymphatic system too.
Did you know that? I didn't, but I love that. I'll take it. Definitely take it.
It's a win-win. I love that.
Now, I don't know if this actually helps your nervous system. I would assume it does, because I feel so good after, but the hot, cold shower.
Yes, you're right. It does help the nervous system. It boosts dopamine, which is our mood boosting neurotransmitter, and lowers inflammation and regulates the nervous system. You'd think, some people go, well, wouldn't it spike my cortisol because it's a shock? No, it actually regulates everything more.
Right. And because it's running water, it's giving you electrons.
Right.
So you're getting like this double bonus from that. But I swear, like I haven't been feeling so well. I don't know if I caught a bug or something, but I took a hot, cold shower today. And it was like, my body was like, don't use the cold because I don't feel well. But as soon as I did, it was like, I got a second wind. I got energy back. I actually felt a lot better. I felt like you said, like my body felt like it was actually deflating a little bit, because whenever I get like stomach sickness, right, my body instantly puts on protection. It puts on a lot of water.
Right.
I bloat.
Yeah.
I bloat. So like a swimming pool, like I apparently want to be a pool of water in another life.
Yeah, but that's that safety response, right? The body's in a stress response. The body's trying to sort these things out. So one of the first responses is retention, or it feels like a layer of protection, because the body's like, there's a threat. I need to protect you to keep you alive. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I have to say that cold shower, and especially on days like today where it's really hot, it doesn't even feel that cold. It feels really refreshing. So I highly recommend that.
Me too. I love the hot and cold showers, especially some other just benefits of that is if you don't sleep good, or you have brain fog or tension headaches, your lymph may be really stuck here. And so those hot and cold showers really help to stimulate the lymph here. And then guess what? No more tension headaches if it's from stuck lymph. Mine was, I was going chiro, acupuncture, all the stuff, and stretching so much. And it wasn't structural. It was my lymphatic system was all stuck, giving me these headaches.
Wow. We've got to do an episode just talking about the lymph system, because the work that Amber has done with me has helped me so much. And I really am getting how a lot of the physical issues I experience really, I mean, there's other things going on, but the lymph system is like one of the pillars of why I was kind of seemingly doing everything right and nothing was shifting.
Yeah.
And I was doing most of the stuff that Amber suggested, except I wasn't focusing on the lymph system. I do it like once in a while. Yeah. And in my brain, I'm like, I didn't see a result, so I guess it doesn't really work. Well, when you do it consistently, holy moly.
Oh, night and day.
So good. Yeah. I am now like a lymph system. Like I'm a believer, you guys.
Same. I do my hot and cold shower and dry brush every day. And then if I feel I need an extra little, I'll do my rebounding. I'll share with you really quick. So after I healed binge eating, I was constipated still all the time. And so I was taking tons of magnesium to make sure my bowels moved every day. And then I discovered my lymph was slow. And once I got my lymph moving, my bowels started moving properly again too. So if you're constipated and you're trying all these other things, but you haven't addressed your lymph, you may want to do that. And it's nice because you can hot and cold shower and dry brush at home. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to go anywhere. It's super easy, but they're life changing. So we have to do an episode on that.
We really do. Because I mean, that understanding that and getting how to help it, and realizing that, it's a lot of the issues that people think they have to fix cosmetically, especially, I mean, we're in a society that tells us, oh, that you need liposuction, that'll fix it. That won't fix it. That's not going to change, right? Because if you've got blocked lymph and then you have surgery, your lymph is just going to back up more. I mean,
And this is the thing, is a lot of people don't realize you can be retaining 5 to 20 pounds of water. It's not that it's even, I hate the word fat, but it's not fat. It's literally water retention. And if your lymph is sluggish, you're going to be sluggish. You're going to be far more susceptible to retaining more water. And then you get upset with your body because your clothes are fitting tighter and right. And it's like, but are you willing to look at what's, investigate, right? So it's crazy. Like I look at photos of myself and it's not a judgment, but I just observed, wow, my face was so puffy. And it didn't matter if I lost weight or whatever else I was doing, like it was so swollen. And it's because my lymph was so stuck. And of course your lymph nodes come down here too. And it was all hanging on my face. And as soon as I started lymphatic drainage, that retention just left my face.
I mean, we've got to go into this more in another episode, because I'm sure there's a thyroid lymph connection that we got to talk about too. One of the other ways of dealing with the nervous system that I wanted to share, and it's something I found that I was doing by instinct, but I found out that it had a literal connection, and that's vagal nerve toning. Your vagus nerve is the largest nerve in your body. It pretty much touches every single organ. And if there's trauma trapped in your body, it's also trapped in your vagus nerve, which can then report to an organ, like let's say your liver, and your liver will respond to that. And so it's both the organ itself is having a response to whatever's going on, but the nerve touching it is giving it information that, yeah, this is still going. Right. So trauma can get trapped in the vagus nerve. I'm pretty sure it can get trapped in all of your nerves, but the vagus is your biggest one. And so there are simple ways to tone your vagal nerve, and you can do these anytime, anywhere. I could do it right now, but one of my favorites is the ear. There's a point in your ear. So there's I don't know if you guys can see this little crease. It's above the hole. But that little crease, if you put your finger in there and you start doing a circular motion, you're actually going to start stimulating the vagus nerves. You can do it on either side. And even this one, you might not want to do in public, I don't know, but you can take your finger, put it into the ear hole. You want the nail facing forward, but you put it in there and you just gently, again, do circular motions. You can even like tug on your earlobe. That's the one I do instinctively. I've always kind of tugged on my own ears, but the eyes and the ears are two major points where you can start stimulating your vagus nerve, and it'll go down the entire nervous system and start working on it. Another way, and this one's really easy to do, and it goes with the breath work, but is to do a long, slow exhale, like you're breathing through a straw, like you're trying to push air through a tiny hole. So deep breath in and as long as you can go. And that also tones that vagal nerve. And what you're going to find is that you start adjusting pretty quick when you start stimulating these areas. This is, again, it's toning it. So it's helping it release that trauma that's sort of like imprinted on this nerve. This nerve can go so out of whack that it can cause back issues. It can cause, like I said, different issues with different organs. Many times people will get blood work or things done or go to a chiropractor, and it's like, it's not that. Yeah. And so people end up feeling frustrated. They don't know how to fix the problem they're having. And sometimes it's trauma stored in the body, in the vagus nerve. And all you have to do is to tone it, to strengthen it, to sort of, it's like taking something that got wrinkled up and smoothing it out again.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Such easy, simple practices, right? That we can almost do anywhere. We don't need to buy anything. It's just, you can just practice. So, and we're at 3 watching in 33 minutes, 333. What a cool number. I always look when we're at the angel numbers.
And by the way, I don't know about you, but I have been getting my personal, so I have a personal number. I feel like everybody does, actually. It's kind of like a secret wink from your team. Yeah. But I have been getting my personal number like nonstop for weeks now, to the point where I'm like, what do you guys want to, what do you want me to know? Are you telling me you're here, or are you trying to tell me something? Because it hasn't been this synchronistic since maybe my initial awakening, where it was like constantly every day. Right. And it's doing that again. So I don't know if you're experiencing that or not, but
I see 1111 all the time. I feel like that's my number.
There you go. That's a portal number too. Ooh, that means you can make you can jump to a higher timeline if you want.
Let's do it. Higher timelines. Rain, please. Everybody pray for lots of good rain in this province so we can get these fires out and get everything lush and green and all the good stuff. So should we pull some cards on healing the nervous system? So here's a question. And if we need to rephrase it, but will it get easier to regulate the nervous system as the ascension continues?
Yeah, let's find out what the team has to say about that.
And if anyone else has questions that's watching, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you have ideas for upcoming sessions you want to see, feel free to drop them in the chat if you're live, and in the comments section. If you're watching the replay, we'd love to hear from you.
All right. So that's kind of what they were telling me as I was pulling it. They were like, we're going to reach such a level of mastery in the body that one of the things I hear consistently from people who communicate with, higher terrestrials or extraterrestrials or angels or whatever you want to call it, is that healing the body is the easiest thing. That's like whenever someone's offering healing from another place, it's like the body is so easy to heal. On the spiritual level, it's a little harder. But we weren't meant, we have an entire drugstore, an entire pharmacy, I should say, available to us internally. Everything we've ever needed is here. So it's not so much like, will we learn to do it? Yes, we will, because it's our natural state, actually. Mm-hmm. I feel like what's going to happen is the interfering is going to decrease significantly. Right now, we're in a part of the movie, like I said, where they're showing you all the interference, and it's looking pretty scary. I don't know if you've heard about, we should also do an episode on appeal. You've heard about appeal?
We need to talk about appeal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's just one more thing that they're trying to introduce into our system that would disrupt it. But if we were left alone, most of our diseases would be gone. They'd be gone. And what's really interesting is Barbara O'Neill, who we should also talk about at another point. I've been like sending you so many of her videos because like she's an amazing woman who also got silenced in her home country of Australia for sharing this information, because the information could put the medical industry out of business. Yeah. And they don't want that. No. So, but she's shown so many ways. And one of the things that she pointed out was that before vaccines were even introduced, it was Florence Nightingale who really put on the map the importance of sanitation and hygiene. When you've got sanitation and you've got hygiene, you've got the basis for healthy living. Like nothing can hurt you if you've got these properly in place within yourself and within society. If they're managed, we're good. And what she showed was that all these diseases that they began vaccinating against had actually already decreased because of Florence Nightingale introducing the rules of sanitation and hygiene into society. It was already gone. Then they added the vaccines, and then the sicknesses went up again. Yeah. So they were trying to equate, I don't know, I just realized I've said that word a bunch of times. The V, I guess, V's with the dip, but it wasn't those things. It was literally the body was stable and fine. And as long as the environment was kept clean and the body was kept clean, we're good. Yeah, totally. And so I think that this part of our evolution right now is coming back to that fact. Yeah. And I'm not here to make anybody wrong about their choices. I simply want to share what we're learning, because we've been taught to believe differently. We've been taught to believe that we're an inferior being who's weak and that we need all these other things to fix ourselves. And yes, sometimes through our lifestyle choices and through what we've been exposed to or what we believed, we've made choices that weakened our body, but your body is so easy to heal, and you have all the components in you to do it. I'm not a medical professional, so I can't tell you how, but I do know that this is the nature of humanity, is that we are quite resilient beings. And on a joking level, I lovingly call humans cockroaches, because they've been trying to kill us. They've been trying to get rid of us for a long time, and we're still here. They keep throwing crap at us. They keep messing with the food, or messing with the medicine, messing with our clothing, messing with the environment, and we're still here. So when I say you're the strongest of the strong, you got to see just how incredibly strong you are. And even if your body has taken some hits, you will be able to heal it. And it does. A big part of it starts in the mind and in deciding that you are what's the word I'm looking for? Not invincible, immortal. That's the word. You're an immortal soul. So nothing can actually harm you, and your body will respond to your immortality. Yeah. So they say that human beings were meant to live 120 years
or more.
Dolores
Cannon talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised. Well, because you look at civilizations, you look at countries where the communities, small pockets of, like in the Himalayas or down in South America, where they are out far away from cities, they have their little villages and they farm everything from the land. They use no pesticides, toxins, antibiotics, GMOs. They don't have TVs. They don't have cell phones. They haven't been indoctrinated up here, and they're living to 120 plus.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty easy to understand why, right? Because of the quality of the food. They're not getting cancer. They're not getting diabetes. They're not getting heart disease, right? They're not getting dis-ease because they're living with the land. They're in harmony with their bodies, community, everything. Like, it's just such a different experience.
Yeah.
Infiltration.
And if we want to go down the rabbit hole sometime about the food industry, I mean, we really have to look at the introduction of plastics and who introduced the plastics, which it's spicy. It's spicy who introduced those,
We have to talk about the plastics.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, that was good. Do you have a question?
Mm-hmm. I think my question is, I mean, it's hard to ask questions about timing because we never can get really a definite answer. I want to know how much harder it's going to get moving forward. Like, if we could just get a little heads up here.
Well, it seems like here in Canada, they're just dropping all the stuff, the GMO seeds and not labeling, and the censorship bill and the fire. Like, it's just been like one thing. It's like all in May. This has all happened in May. It's crazy.
So I'm just waiting for them to give me the heads up here.
And I think one of the biggest things is just, you're not alone. We're all here to support each other.
Yeah.
Right. Oh gosh.
So the death card comes up. And I don't think, the death card in the tarot is not literal death. It actually means transformation. It means going from one, state to another. Mm-hmm. It also represents a veil being lifted. So it's hard to transition sometimes. It is hard to go through a change. Change doesn't necessarily mean ease, but it also doesn't mean negative things. And in this position, when you're looking at the death card, one of the keywords is like new day or new dawn. So you see the sun rising behind the person. And it's really like everything that doesn't match has to be released. And so the team's like, you got to consider the butterfly. The butterfly's destiny is one of beauty and freedom and grace and inspiration. But the butterfly goes through hell to get there, right? They literally have a meltdown inside their cocoon so that they can turn into primordial soup and open up their imaginal cells that allow them the complete transformation. And you can't rush the process. You can't crack open their cocoon and try to help them. You'll kill it. Right. And they want us to know that we're in a similar type of situation. You can't speed this up. You can't force it, and you can't take away the struggle, because the struggle is what gives the strength. So the butterfly, when they do finally crack open their own cocoon, you'll see them like reaching out, and they're like, they stop and they're breathing, and they get all the way out, and their wings are all wrinkled up and wet, and they have to wait so much. So even as they get out of the struggle, they're still in that place of like, this was hard. It took a lot of effort, but all of that suffering, if you want to look at it as suffering, gave them the strength to be who they actually are. And I feel like the process that we're in right now, both with Ascension and with the movie, It's to give you the strength to be who you really are. You've been sold a story about who you are this entire time. We've been told that we're, you know, maybe pawns, maybe worker bees, maybe weak, maybe babies who need someone to watch over us. You need a babysitter. You can't be trusted with yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been told all these things to kind of make us feel less than. And most of us hold that trauma of I'm not enough, right? We're holding it. And that's one of the most powerful and common traumas that people hold, is they just never believe that they're enough. But if you think about what they've sold us, you know, if you think about people who don't even believe that there's a soul, I mean, that's even a darker place to be, because what's the redeeming quality of humanity then?
Yeah. Totally.
Right. So we've been sold this pretty funky story that serves one group and doesn't serve you at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that we're liquefying now. And we're having to find the courage and the strength to be who we really are, to say things that might upset people, to talk about what we're seeing and say, you know what, this isn't right. I don't think it's that, you know, and we've been pretty blessed so far. People haven't like blasted us, but we risk that every time we have this conversation, because we are trying to find the strength to stand up for what we believe is the truth, and to help people see it. And even watching and participating in this, you're doing the same thing, right? And to be a free thinker, you'd think would be the easiest thing to do. But I can look back at my life when I was under the spell, and I honestly feel like that's what it is. It's a spell.
It's a spell.
Once you break it, they cannot reintroduce it to you. It's a type of glamour. They're using like a negative, like a black magic glamour on people. I saw it really strongly with Hollywood. When the spell of Hollywood was broken for me, I was like, oh my God,
Same.
like, how did I ever fall for that?
Yeah.
So we've been under this kind of spell where we believe what we're being told. And once you break that, I think the first thing that you want to do is, not only do you want to be a free thinker, you want to share that information. You want to put it out there. And that's where, you know, when we do these things, I mean, it took Amber and I talked about this for years.
Yeah.
Getting to these conversations. And it took years for us to just be like, F it. I want to be free.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels so good.
It does feel
so good. Yes.
It feels so good. And like every time we talk about it, every time we just put it out there, it feels less and less intimidating. And of course, the beautiful thing that I'm seeing is more and more people are awake. Like every year, something wakes somebody up. You know, it could be a big event, could be something they heard that it just clicked for them. But I have so much hope in this. I even if we experience suffering, I believe suffering happens for a reason. I believe it's catalyst, and it's agreed to by your soul, because catalyst is the growth factor. Right. It is what will create growth and change.
Yes.
And both of these things are uncomfortable, but ultimately it's what sets us free.
Yep, it does. And it's what's going to help change the world.
Absolutely.
I love the message. I think that this is just so fitting and timely. And my nervous system feels so much better now that we've had this conversation.
Yay. I'm feeling better too. I hope that whatever went through my system now can go.
I hope so too. You can go. You can leave now. You don't have to be there anymore.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can everyone find you, Therese, if they want to come and check out your work, your content, get help?
Yes, so you can go to blythestarlight.com and you can see everything that I offered there. I also have private readings there. I have my spirit circle group. And by the way, there is a Black New Moon coming up on Friday, the 19th. So if you want to join the spirit circle, I'll be talking to you about the energy that's happening and the cosmic information that's coming in, because our planets and stars are always sort of giving us a heads up about the path of most alignment. So I'm talking about it there. So you can check that out on blythestarlight.com. And you can also visit me on Etsy as Blythe Starlight, or pretty much any channel of social media, you'll find Blythe Starlight, you'll find me.
And you must go follow her on YouTube and check out her stuff and go and buy some of her jewelry. It's absolutely beautiful. So, and for any of you who are wanting to have a deeper level of support to regulate your nervous system, maybe you want to get your cortisol tested and look at your hormone health. Maybe you're struggling with emotional eating or binges or body image stuff, and it's really impacting your mood and your health and your quality of life. You are so welcome to go to the comments below and click to book a 30-minute body freedom consultation. I'm launching a new program that I'm going to be talking more about next week. It's a group program to overcome binging and emotional eating. So that'll be really fun, but everything is below if you want to come and receive any level of support. And as always, if you have comments or feedback or want to see specific topics, leave them in the comments. We're so grateful for those of you that have been watching and, you know, loving what we're sharing. We're going to be keeping it up as long as the internet exists and we can share. We will be sharing.
That's right.
We're going to share the whole way through the rest of this movie, aren't we?
Oh, we will. I mean, and if you can't find us on YouTube, look for us on Rumble, because we will definitely, we're both on Rumble. So we will be there. And wherever else we have to go to keep it going, because I'm not stopping. Now that we started, I don't want to stop.
We're just getting started, I feel like.
Right. That's
right. Okay, well, sending you all so much love, and we'll see you again next Wednesday for the next Shining the Light On.
Bye.